Good morning, everybody. So I just gave the dogs their bones. Cross your fingers that they behaved this morning. So how are you guys? Hope you guys had a good Thanksgiving. Full disclosure, don't worry, you're far away, but I have COVID. I took a test last night because I couldn't taste anything, and that's actually the first time I've ever had that symptom. I've had COVID before. I don't know how many times, a couple times, few times. I didn't feel good for a few days. Like, wasn't horrible, but wasn't great. Of course, over the holidays, of course it is, because that's what we do. We just get sick when it's the least opportune time, but at the same time, when it's kind of safe because, you don't necessarily have work-related obligations. But anyway, so yesterday, I'm still a little stuffy. I feel fine, feel completely fine. I had 2 nights of feeling very body achy. And then yesterday, I took my son Dawson back to the airport. He's back safe at JMU. And on the way back, I swung through McDonald's to get a Diet Coke. But I couldn't taste the Diet Coke. But it was the one that's by Disney property there. And so they used the paper straws at that particular McDonald's. So I was like, I just can't taste it because it's that paper straw, and the paper straw is always gross. So I just disregarded it. But then a little bit later when I went to get something to eat, I made like a frozen pizza or something. And I was like, God, and I added more like Italian seasoning. I added more mozzarella cheese on it. And I was eating it and I was like, well, I feel it. I just don't taste it. So I sat there for a minute and I was like, I should probably go take a COVID test. So I did. So yay. Not only do I have COVID, but little baby Easton has COVID. Hong said he woke up today not feeling super great. So far, Eric has tested negative twice. Thank God. And Elizabeth and Steele and Elsie are all good. So we're just going to, and I think Alyssa is negative as well, although if she's got a baby, that's breaking my heart. So anyway, so you're fine because you're far away from me. Eric and I honestly are not close enough to each other the majority of the time that I hope he can just stay negative, but he is over there. So he's here. He just can't talk. His voice is just like it has been, but just absolutely no ability really to talk. So I'll try to do all the talking, but you're going to have to forgive me if all of a sudden I start to get a little bit rattly up in the nasal passages. Anyway, so I hope you guys had a good Thanksgiving. It is always fun. I always say our life should be a little bit more of a reality show than a live stream. But anyway, so good coffee time to you, my friends. I have my Christmas mug. I did just fill it up right before. So this is my fa la 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 mug. There was Eric just passing by. So we have, I have my Christmas mug. And yeah, so how was your Thanksgiving? Tell me all about it here in the chats. Because remember, even though I'm not smart enough to like talk to you and carry on a one-sided conversation and pay attention to all of the messages that come through, but I do go back and read them. So let me know how your Thanksgiving was. Those of you that celebrated, I hope you had a wonderful time. We did. We'll get into that a little bit later. But at any rate, I just wanted to chime in and explain any stuffiness that you might detect in my voice. But I promise I feel fine. 2 nights of feeling body achy, and that was pretty much it. Runny nose, went through some tissues, but other than that, pretty good. So, and then funny story, my friend, oh my gosh, she's a dear friend, Susan, 4th grade, and you're in here. Susan, I think I told you that Darla is in town. So I used to call her my right-hand gal in when I had my dance studio, because Darla also taught with me. Her girls danced with me. And Darla and I became great friends, and have been for years and years and years and years. Her birthday is coming up, and she is here at Disney with her daughter and son-in-law and the granddaughter. And I think there's some other friends and family that are here. But at any rate, we had hoped to try to catch up over the next day or two to say a quick hello. And I sent Darla a message last night and said, well, I just tested positive for COVID, so I don't know that we should meet. And then she said, well, I'm actually staying at a hotel because her daughter and son-in-law have a stomach bug and they've been throwing up for the past 2 days. So anyway, Merry Christmas. Stay well, everybody. All right, so let's get on with our brewing topics. Yes, Susan says Darla is wonderful. Yes, I know. I hope we get to see each other too. She said she's leaving Thursday. Wednesday, I'm pretty wide open. I'm really jam-packed today and tomorrow. Wednesday, I've got some availability. So if I'm feeling better, I just don't, you just don't want to be near people, even if at that point I might be okay and wear a mask and everything. I just, people are traveling. I just don't want to be responsible for anybody getting sick. And I already feel bad enough because I feel like I'm completely the reason that my family is now on high alert. But anyway, so let's get ourselves going with our brewing topics for the day, shall we? Okay, so our brewing topics today for, there it comes, expired, do not call, intriguing. Should I make a list of upgrades? Okay, and then should I use a preferred lender? So those are 3 great topics, but another great topic is what Pam just said. She said first of all, I put my glasses on because I can barely read that. First time in 38 years not cooking. We went with family to the Rosen Shingle Creek Hotel, had an amazing buffet, and it was wonderful and no cleanup. Really? That sounds fantastic. Although I will say my son and his girlfriend, Forrest was here, and his girlfriend, Caroline, were here, and they were like in charge of all the cleanup. Man, they just like every time I turn around, they were doing dishes and loading and unloading and putting things away. And so that was kind of a first for me too. But that's kind of exciting. I've thought about that before. It's like, what would it be like to go somewhere else for Thanksgiving and, and have some buffet or have a meal. So interesting. Okay. So expired, do not call. So we have a couple of items here. So the expired listing. So exactly what is an expired listing? So, and I have a couple of them that have coming up. Full disclosure, it does not matter how high you rank in the list of realtors. The market sometimes dictates what's happening. Thank you, because that is very, very frustrating. And I won't say it's I won't say it's common, but it is not uncommon for a listing to become expired. And that can happen for a number of reasons, by the way. So let's go over what expired means. So when I do a listing agreement, and when most realtors do, depends on the area that you live in, but in most cases, a realtor is going to do a listing agreement with their client, with their homeowner, for 6 months. Now, obviously, we're hoping it doesn't take 6 months to sell that property, but there are times and indications in locations across the country where that home could sell very, very quickly. Or 6 months could not be nearly enough time. It's going to take about a year or so to sell it. It really depends on the property. Again, if you've got this small house, but this massive amount of land, well, then that's going to be a specific buyer. If you've got, this beautiful home here and it's priced right, but it's just not the time of year that people are looking to buy, it could still sit and we could scratch our heads as to why. And I have a lot of head scratchers, by the way. So an expired listing. So if I have a listing agreement with my client for 6 months, goes on the market, we've got showings, maybe we don't have a lot of showings, it's kind of hit or miss. Time keeps ticking, time keeps ticking. And so sometimes we make some adjustments. If we feel like, okay, well, the feedback is that it's too expensive, or we're not getting any showings at all, is also maybe an indication that there's just no buyers. Maybe they don't agree with the pricing. Who knows? So we make some price adjustments, or we change some of those incentives. So when I have a client, I usually say in the very beginning, what is our nugget? And when I say what is our nugget, what I mean by that is, if we're going to list your home at $750,000, because that's what it's worth, right? We feel like we could get $750,000, but the market is very, very slow. And you know what? What would you accept for that home? So if they're like, well, I would accept anywhere from $725,000 to $730,000, but I really want $750,000. But $725,000 to $730,000, I'd still accept that offer. Okay, this is great knowledge for me. And the reason is I know what my nugget is, and I can manipulate that ball of pretend money. Well, it's real money, but I can manipulate that, and we can reallocate that as an incentive. So instead of doing an automatic price drop of $20,000, we can do a smaller price drop, and we can add an incentive. Back in the day, prior to the new NAR rules, we could have added a realtor bonus in there to kind of help, generate some interest by some realtors out there that might wanted to have a great little bonus before the holiday season. Can't really do that anymore. But so we take that little nugget and we can go, okay, well, let's do a small reduction and then an incentive. And then maybe that doesn't work. And so then we're like, okay, well, you know what? Let's do a bigger incentive and like a really tiny additional reduction. So we can play with that, all the while never really dipping deeper into that pocket of uncharted territory. Now, where I'm going with this is as we're reducing or manipulating the incentives, time is still ticking and we still don't have a buyer for the property. And all of a sudden, 6 months comes and it's time for that listing to become expired. Now, this is where I want you to pay really good attention. If you are not already, please look in your area. I don't know if it's a national number or a local number, to be honest. I was going to look it up before this. I just didn't have time. But you want to be on the national do not call list. Do not call. Because this is what happens. And this is not a bad thing, but it is not something that I agree with. It is not something that I ever did. And it's something that I feel I need to tell all of you, whether you're my client or not. If your listing expires, or if you if you cancel it, if you temporarily take it off the market, it is very likely that you are going to be inundated with phone calls from other realtors asking you if you would like them to list your home. Because obviously it's going to be the realtor's fault that the home didn't sell. And in some cases that absolutely could be. Maybe the realtor didn't do anything for the home. Maybe it was never priced right. Maybe he never advised them properly of things that you could do. But it also can be the fact that the market is just indicative of no traffic. And in order to get the home sold, you'd have to go so far below the value that that's not advantageous to your seller. And obviously your fiduciary duty is to them. You want to do what's in their best financial interest. So find your do not call number. Find it. Put your phone number on it now. And that will take away a lot of the sales calls. And when or if your listing is expired or canceled, and you start to get those phone calls, if you do, and they say, hey, I'm so-and-so from Keller Williams, you call Keller Williams and you tell them, my name is not on the do not call list. Please take it off of your list. Because what a lot of real estate brokerages do, and again, this is not a bad thing. I'm not bursting anybody's bubble here. There are a lot of people who are trained. What you do is you wait for somebody else's listing to expire, and then you call and you try to take that listing. You try to explain why you're better than them. Well, the truth is, in most cases, it's newer agents that don't have a lot of experience that are the ones that are sitting there having time to call all of the expired or the canceled listings. Again, not a bad thing. Everyone's got to start somewhere. But point is, the best thing you can do for yourself is put yourself on a do not call list, so that you are hopefully not inundated with those phone calls from other realtors, other brokerages, trying to, I won't say snag the listing because the listing has expired. And then a lot of times when that happens, what we do is we're like, okay, we're going to wait till after the holidays are over. And then we are going to relist once things pick up in another, well, we want to wait at least 30 days because we want that time ticker to kind of kick back over again. So we're going to wait another 30 to 60 days and put it back on the market when things are better. And then maybe it'll be a little bit fresher. And again, this has just been a really, really slow, honestly, it's been about a slow 6 months, I think. There's been a lot of activity as far as people are still buying and selling, but there's just not a lot of buyers looking for some of the houses that we have because there's, again, so much inventory with the new construction, which is our big competition here. So anyway, so that is your tip. Get yourself on the do not call list, and hopefully that will help you with avoid some of those headaches. I did have a listing A beautiful listing. Again, it was a massive house and it was priced extremely well. But in that particular area, that was still a very high price point. But their listing expired and they called and they're like, oh, Amy, can you take our phone number off of the listing so people stop calling us? I'm like, I don't ever provide your contact information. They're not going to get your information from the listing agent. That's not going to happen. It's because your information is public record and your phone number, they'll find you. So just be aware of that. Okay. Okay. So anyway, Gary says, the worst is financial institutions. When I had a credit check when purchasing my current home, I got well over 140 calls from various mortgage companies, which I consider ambulance chasers. Yeah, so as soon as your credit is pulled, you're going to get a lot of those phone calls too from lenders out there who are looking to go, oh, hey, well, we can help. Again, I just, oh, wait, Gary says the do not call. Oh, it did help the second time around. Okay, good. That's good. For a second, I thought you said it did not help, but yes, it did. Okay, good. That helps. Then the Grateful Drifter just realized I'm not so late after all. Oh, I thought you were talking about something else. Well, hello. You're joining in. Yeah, so that is a good tip. So look that number up, and I apologize. I should have provided it to you, but I didn't think about it until it was too late, and I didn't have time to get that number out for you. But should be easy to find, and just make sure you take care of that. Okay, so our second brewing topic is, should I make a list of upgrades? So what I mean by that is, and I have mixed feelings about the intent or the purpose for why a seller would do this. So first of all, a seller will, and I say this again, I think about me, if I'm selling my house or if it's my kids' houses or if it's a friend's house, do we want to list all of the upgrades? Well, you can list all of those upgrades, sure, but you have to understand that all of the houses in your neighborhood, if it's newer construction, okay, and again, I don't just do new construction, but because so much of this is new or new-ish, that you're going to have a community where almost everyone's going to have the same countertop. So you can say, we have quartz counters. Well, yeah, but so do all your neighbors. So that's an upgrade, but it's not an upgrade against your comparables. What I mean is, for instance, okay, let's use my house as an example. Okay, that way it's all fair. If I were to make a list of upgrades in my home, I'm going to talk about things that maybe I did add when I built the home. Things like, extended LVP flooring throughout the entire first floor and on the stairs and upstairs. Okay, that's worth noting, right? But I would also add things like, we did the built-in. We did the custom built-in fireplace wall. We have the pool, right? That's obviously an upgrade. We did soffit lighting. So we have, instead of hanging Christmas lights, we added extra soffit lights so that we can change those colors throughout our house. Every single closet in our home is custom closets. That's something that you want to put on your list. Everyone has closets, but not everyone may have the custom closets. So you can go on and on and on and things like that. Okay, I'll think of some of the other things that we've added, but there's a lot of things, the custom wall treatments, things like that we have done, the landscaping, if you've added some of that, that's stuff that you can add, but you have to keep in mind, I would not say we spent X amount on the pool, therefore my house is worth this much more. We spent this much on soffit lighting, therefore my home is worth this much more. It doesn't really work that way, but it can be great and useful information and help in some cases, showcase that home and have it sell. You don't want to, however, feel like you're justifying your price, if that makes sense. Sometimes it looks a little desperate when people are like, oh, I did this and it's this much and this and then it's this much and this and it costs this much, because you feel like you're just trying to push hard how much your home is worth. When in reality, your home is worth what the comps are going to say that it's worth and what a buyer is willing to pay for it. And we want to make sure it appraises. So make that list of upgrades, make it, don't put prices beside it unless you want to do it for yourself or for your realtor, but that's not something you necessarily want to advertise. Make that list of the upgrades, provide it to your listing agent, because it really could be great information to say, oh, wow, I didn't realize every single closet is custom done. That's fantastic. Oh, I didn't realize you didn't have that fireplace wall wasn't already done. You did that. That's great. But it comes with the house when you buy the house. So it's all part of the whole cumulative value of what that home is worth. So there's just a little tidbit, because I get that a lot. And I like to know what a client has done after the fact, because when you bought that home, it already had those quartz counters. When you bought the home, it already had that extending flooring. That was already calculated into the price when the home was purchased or built the first time. So that's not really where we want to go. We want to go what's above and beyond that. Hopefully that made sense a little bit. Anyway, all right. So, I see nothing. Okay. I see nothing. Okay. All right. Let's move on to our third topic then, which is, should I use a preferred lender? Okay. So this was actually something I saw another realtor asked about on our brokerage thing, Facebook page or something. I'm not sure. But there was this whole conversation going back and forth. And so I have this conversation with my clients all the time. And I know we've talked about it as well, but I'm going to mention it again, because if you are choosing to do new construction and there is a preferred lender, now remember, a preferred lender can mean two things. It can be that the lender is under the same corporate umbrella as the builder. For instance, D.R. Horton has their own mortgage division within the company. A lot of the builders do, right? A lot of them, Taylor Morrison, Meritage, all of them, excuse me, they have a division in their company where their preferred lender is still under that same corporate umbrella. There are other builders that do not get into that part of it. They're like, we build homes. We have lenders that we prefer to work with, and they're going to be considered a preferred lender. So any incentives that might be attached would be to that lender, but it doesn't necessarily mean that that lender is only working for that builder. So here's what I tell my clients. First of all, in a lot of cases with new construction, in order for that sales associate for the builder, the site agent rep, to be able to write the contract, in some cases, not all, but in most of them, you need to start the pre-approval process with their preferred lender before they can write the contract. Or at least you have to start that within the first 24 to 48 hours to get that loan part going. Now, so in that case, yeah, you kind of have to start there. You are not obligated, as the consumer, you are not obligated to use the builder's preferred lender at all. You can use your own outside lender if you want. The pros of using the builder's lender is that the incentive is attached to that lender. So if you use that lender, then any closing cost contribution, any of that is tied into that lender, okay? So that's the first thing. So if you want a $10,000 or a $15,000 closing cost contribution, if you want that, then you're going to get that with the preferred lender. You're not going to get that with your outside lender, okay? If you use the builder's preferred lender, the timeline is going to be communicated constantly between the builder and the whole team back there behind the scenes. Okay, musical theater. There's a lot happening behind the curtain. They're communicating with each other, and they're keeping tracks on where your loan is, where the home is in construction, what our timeline is looking like. And if they say, hey, you know, it's time to, lock your rate, and then all of a sudden there's a problem, or let's just say that you're scheduled to close and then there's a last minute issue and they're like, we got to push your closing back. And it's the lender. You never know. That lender, if it's associated with the builder, you're not going to be penalized for that. Well, you're penalized in the fact that it has upset your timeline, but you're not penalized financially in regards to, for instance, I had a client once who chose to use an outside lender, totally fine. They were pre-approved, came in, bought an inventory. They're like, we just don't want to go through the process again. We don't need that $5,000 closing cost contribution. We're just going to stick with our lender. Well, what happens is in that particular case, it was a, and I know I've said this one before because it's very funny. They lived on a road that ended in Boulevard, and the abbreviation for Boulevard in most cases is BLVD. But in this case, in this county, on this boulevard, they abbreviated it BVD. So the outside lender, no idea anything going on in the area, nothing in the community, don't know anything with the builder. They said, hey, you need to get a new certificate of occupancy stating Boulevard is BLVD. And they're like, well, no, every other home in here is BVD. It was a technical but important, but a technical issue that was holding up an outside lender. The outside lender was delaying the closing for my client. And that would have been easily resolved had it been the preferred lender, because the communication would have been, oh, it's BVD. Okay, cool. Because they would have already have known that. If your outside lender does not have you prepared to close on time with the builder's schedule, if that builder's like, hey, you know what? I can get your home done by the end of this fiscal year, so we need you to close on December 27th. And your lender's like, I can't quite get it done by then. I need you to close after the first of the year. That builder can absolutely charge you and penalize you for not being ready to close on time. So again, there's benefits, there's pros, and there's cons with which lender you use or which lender you choose to use. But in most cases, give the preferred lender a shot, right? Because you want to make sure that you get the green light to write the contract. You also want to make sure that you are doing your due diligence, right? Give them the chance. You never know. Some of these builders, some of these really, really, really big builders have really deep pockets, and they are in a financial situation where they can lock you in at a rate that is not available to anybody else without it being bought down additionally. So keep that in mind. Ask your realtor what they think. If they're familiar, if it's not in this area and you have somebody else somewhere else across the country or out of the country, talk to them, find out, what their thoughts are. But in my opinion, try to use the builder's preferred lender unless you really have done your numbers and you realize that financially it's not going to be beneficial for you to use them. I don't think, and I had one client one time said that in the course of the in the course of the 30-year mortgage, that it would be more advantageous for him to use his own lender. And my thought process was, if you actually do plan on having that home for 30 years, you could just refinance it, but take the $15,000 that the builder's giving you and refinance it later. There's no prepayment penalty. So, but you have to do the math and you have to do what feels right to your heart. Okay, what have I missed over there? Anything? No, I haven't missed anything? Well, that's not exciting. All right, well, let me see. I just want to say hi to everybody. So I see Jennifer Ross popped in. Good morning. I don't know if you're still here, Jen, but good morning. Jane. Hi, Jane. How are you? Kim. Okay, this is funny. Okay, I'm being nosy, but what's in that jar behind you? It looks like lemon slices. Yeah, that right over there. Yes, so that's really funny. So yeah, those are fruit slices. So funny story. We'll go back to Eric and I when we were dating. So we used to work at, I think you guys know, at King's Dominion in the Richmond area in Virginia. It's where we used to perform when we were young. And there was a candy store right there on, it wasn't Main Street, but essentially the main street when you came in, where the big Eiffel Tower was and the pond and everything. And so sometimes we would walk there and we would grab a bag of these fruit slices. Then when we got married, we had kids at Water Country, USA, there in the Williamsburg area in Virginia. We would take our kids to Busch Gardens in Williamsburg. At Water Country, there was a candy store on the way out. And so every time we would leave Water Country with our kids, we would go to the candy store and we would get Eric his fruit slices, and then we would all eat them on the way home. So when it would become a special occasion, whether it was a birthday or Father's Day or something, I would try to find fruit slices. Well, I found them online, and you can buy this massive box of them. Which I love about them is that they're all individually wrapped. So you can tell that Eric doesn't like the lemon ones, although he hasn't eaten them in forever because of where we are with his health, which we'll update here shortly. But yeah, he doesn't really like the lemon ones, so they're still sitting in the jar. But that's funny that you noticed that. See, I told Eric you guys are looking around, so I didn't have time to clean it this morning. I apologize. Anyway, all right, so let's move on to our next topic, which was an update on Eric's health a little bit. What do you think? So where do I do for that one, honey? I just do Eric update. Counting on Miami, no voice, and wonderful Thanksgiving. All right, so Daryl. Did you see what Daryl just said? Daryl says, that was Eric's name in high school, fruit slice. Okay, that's pretty funny. Okay, counting on Miami, no voice, and wonderful Thanksgiving. So, all right, so we are still counting on Miami. I will give an update. We'll go through these and I'll try to catch you up. because I see you on Mondays for coffee time. So last Tuesday, we went in, he went in for chemo. Unfortunately, the bilirubin was too high and the platelets were too low, so we did not get chemo again on Tuesday. He did get fluids that day while we were waiting for them to decide what they needed to do, so that was disappointing. So we unfortunately did not get the chemo on Tuesday. Did we see Dr. Chi that day? Anyway, we did. We also saw Dr. Chi after they said no chemo. We went to go see our oncologist, Eric's oncologist, and chatted with him for a minute. They have decided to do the immunotherapy, but we're still waiting to hear on Miami. So back to number one on this list, counting on Miami. We are just desperately waiting to hear from them. Hopefully this week that we will get some information from them. We have received confirmation from our liver specialist that communication has already happened, that they have actually spoken to a transplant surgeon there, and that person was going to review all of Eric's information. So we know that. We're just still waiting on an official word. The second piece of that is Eric has no voice, so his voice, my mom asked, and this is a really good question, and I feel very, very foolish. When I told my mom, she's like, has anyone looked in his mouth and his throat? And I'm like, well, no, actually. No, other than the ERCP a month ago, I guess at this point, no one has actually gone, oh, you don't have a voice. Let's do that. So that's something I'm going to check on. And he had a wonderful Thanksgiving. Now, before we get to Thanksgiving, I do want to mention, and very, very, very happy with our liver specialist. He actually messaged in the little My Chart thing Saturday morning that he is going to request that Eric needs to get a third stent put in. That was something that we were told when he got the last ones. They replaced the 2 for bigger ones. And that doctor had said, he goes, you're all set. He goes, we, replace these again in 3 months. He goes, but if the bilirubin doesn't come down, we may need to add a third. So I think that based on that, they're going to add a third. So we don't know when that's happening yet. All right. Wonderful Thanksgiving. Let's get on to some happier news, shall we? So let me see. Third picture. Next picture of me. Okay. Yay. Okay. So, this is just, I guess Eric just snapped a few pictures. So this was the turkey. We did a good job. It tasted amazing. Eric was extremely tired. Very, very, very tired. But he did get up and he carved that turkey like a champ. Look at that picture in the upper right. I mean, that is absolute perfection. That was really, really, really good. So the turkey was amazing. We had all of our typical usual stuff, which was the turkey, and we had stuffing and mashed potatoes and green beans and sweet potato casserole. Remember, we talked about that, candied yams or sweet potato casserole. Cranberry sauce, all that fun stuff. Did I say mac and cheese? We have mac and cheese because, gotta have mac and cheese. So, excuse me. So anyway, so that was good. And then let's move on to this one then. All right, so here's just a couple of baby update pictures. First picture is my baby, Dawson, who's in college back at JMU, holding his nephew, Easton. And then there's Elsie in the second picture. They are just growing so beautifully. They're both sitting up at the moment. Elsie is trying to, Elizabeth sent me a video of her last night, and I mean, the creativity and movement was hysterical. She's like on her belly, and then she would roll over to her side, take her elbow, and then push herself forward. It was like she's figuring it out. So once these kiddos are once they're down on a mat, they'll get where they want to go, even if they're not crawling yet. But anyway, so baby update. But I also wanted to, all right, turn this off a little bit, please. Phone's just ding, ding, dinging. I wanted to go to, where do we want to go to you want to do the cup next, or you want to?
Whatever you want to do.
Okay, all right. Well, I'll come back because I have more pictures to show you for sure. But let's kind of zoom through these. But before I do, I want to go to a couple of quick questions. So Ernie I'm going to pop this one up. Ernie says, hi, Amy. I know Zillow is one resource people utilize. Who controls what info goes in there, pricing, et cetera, and how often is it updated? That is a fantastic question, Ernie. So Zillow, Realtor.com, Trulia, Homes.com, that information is coming essentially from public records, but it's coming from the listing. So as a realtor, if I have a listing, and I'm putting my information in, and again, that is typically generated from public records. By the way, public records can be wrong. I have a listing right now. It was entered in by the builder incorrectly. My clients built it as new construction. It was entered in as a 4-bedroom home. There was an option where it was a 3-bedroom home, and that is the option that they have. Public records shows it one way. I had to change our listing because when it auto-populated the information, it auto-populated it incorrectly until a realtor said, hey, we just saw it. It's not a 4. I was like, oh my gosh. So I changed my listing information and I reached out to the county to say, hey, this information is incorrect. I'm the realtor, not the homeowner, but this needs to be remedied. So based on that, though, if I'm entering information in the little description paragraph that you see in a listing, welcome to this, blah, blah, blah. That information is put in there by the listing agent. So those third-party websites are going to sweep that information. The question is, how often do they do it? That's not as often as you might think, although it's gotten a lot better. But they'll sweep that information. So when you look at Zillow, that's essentially what you're looking at is the information that has been pulled from that listing. But there's a lot of the additional information that they give you and the different pages you can kind of navigate. That's all public record information. They've just learned how to fine tune it and put it right there on one spot for you. So this is my only issue with those third-party websites. Do not consider their valuation as accurate as you might want. Now, sometimes you don't want it to be accurate because they've got it way too low. Here's why you need to at least know that it exists, because as a seller, there's going to be a buyer out there right now that's looking around, and they might look at what they say this estimate is. Keep in mind, as soon as a house goes actually active, like for instance, let's say someone says, hey, my neighbor says they're going to sell their house. They're going to put their home on the market in a couple of months. Could be perfect for you. Here's their address. You can look that home up on Zillow or any of these websites, and it can give you a valuation of that property. It'll show you that it's not currently on the market. It's not for sale. They'll give you their valuation. Well, the listing agent comes in, the hopefully professional in the area who's going to know what the market is dictating, who's going to do the research, who's going to study those comps and determine what a good listing price is for that property. They're going to put that in the MLS. MLS multiple listing service. They're going to put that, which only realtors can access. They're going to put that information in there. And then all of a sudden that home goes on the market. Boom. Zillow now changes what their estimate is because somebody else has put their 2 cents worth in. So that information can be swept, pretty quickly. It doesn't take as long as it used to. But here's the problem. Back when it was a feeding frenzy, I would have way too many clients shopping on Zillow or some of these other websites, and they would say, look at this home. I just found it. It's great. It's perfect. Can we see it right now? And so they'd send me the Zillow link. I would click on it, and then I would go to the MLS, and the MLS already shows that it's pending. So in the MLS, which is real-time accurate, like legit real-time, I click pending. Everyone that's in the MLS knows it's pending immediately. If I do pending, it may take an hour, 2, 3, 4, maybe even a day before all of the third party or any of the third party sites necessarily pick that up. It has been faster, but when you are actually actively, truly looking for a house, let your realtor set you up on a property search or, excuse me, go into it knowing that, that some of that information may be a little bit delayed. Don't get upset if your realtor says, hey, it's already pending, but it still shows active on Zillow or Trulia or any of those websites. That's a really good question, though. And I also liked Enchanted Nomads. I was chosen from the crowd to be in the dolphin show at King's Dominion when I was like 7. Still a vivid memory. They got rid of all the dolphin show type stuff many, many years later. I know. So that was the time frame that Eric and I worked there. There was the dolphin show was going on. And I think there was a real situation where a dolphin got out of the tank, right? Was there a time? No? I don't remember anyway. But yeah, there was a dolphin show, and that was pretty cool. Anyway, I love it, going back in time. All right, let me move on to our next thing, which is what I'm watching. Something new, guys. Okay, I am watching Elsbeth. This is, well, I guess it's a CBS original, but I've been watching it on Paramount Plus, mostly because I'm a creature of habit, and I know where to go to my other shows on Paramount Plus. So I just kind of, like when I was on Netflix, I just stick with Netflix. No, I'm just sticking with Paramount Plus. Anyway, I've been watching this, and I think I've only got one more episode to go, but it's really cute. She's just a quirky character helping out with some crimes and murders, and it's good. It's fun. It's lighthearted. I mean, she's solving mysteries, and it's fun. But I love her personality. It reminds me a bit of a friend of ours. The way she dresses, a little bit kind of cuckoo, but it suits her because she's a really cool character. So I don't know if anybody has watched it. If you're looking for something kind of fun to watch, that's a good one. I mean, it's, again, there's nothing grotesque in it. It's not a gory murder thing, and there's no other scenes that I would tend to forward through, if you know what I mean. So anyway, all right, let's move on. John says that he doesn't think he let me try this again. John says, I don't think I've ever carved a turkey to that perfection. Good job, Eric. Yeah, I will say the food was pretty good, although I think that's when COVID was starting, because I didn't really taste too much of it. Oh, Miss Florida Man, so you watched it, huh? It is good, right? I'm glad. And then Lisa, okay, good. Yay! Jane says she's just started watching it too. Good. Yay, I love it. That makes me happy. It's just fun. I mean, I watched Yellowstone last night. Oh my gosh. But we get tired of hearing the same stuff. So, all right, let's move on. I want to go on to another one. Word.
Oh, now come on, Amy, tell me what's the word.
All right, pre/post occupancy agreement. All right, so I wanted to mention this because I have some clients. They actually live in Canada. The daughter lives here, purchasing a townhome for her here. They do things slightly differently, but they were asking, because again, different rules in different places, what's common, what's uncommon, what's expected, what's unexpected. Things like that. So we do have something called a pre or a post occupancy agreement. And that is something where, let's just do the pre. Okay. So in their case, they were like, oh my gosh, my daughter has to move out of her current apartment on Friday, but we're not scheduled to close on the new one until the middle of next week. Would they let us move in early? So that's called a pre-occupancy agreement. Post-occupancy agreement is the reverse. This is the seller saying, hey, we're going to sell our home to you, and I know we have a closing date of December 1st, but our new home isn't going to be ready until December 12th. So can we close on the home, and instead of you moving in on December 1st or December 2nd, can we stay in our house that extra 2 weeks? We'll pay you. And again, usually this is something where you basically rent it for that period of time. Now, this is something, just full disclosure, this is something that is only facilitated and only can be facilitated by the realtor. Pre and post occupancy agreements are going to be done between buyers and sellers. So obviously we can help with the documentation and things like that, but especially with that post occupancy agreement, if you've closed on the property, that now is an agreement between buyer and seller. So those things do exist. Have we done them? Yes, I have had clients not do the pre-occupancy agreement, but we've had a couple of post-occupancy agreements. They're not generally, there's a little bit of liability in there, right? You don't want someone moving into your home until they have officially closed on it, because now they're in the property. So now we have a problem if something goes haywire at the last minute, which can happen, by the way. So there's a little bit of liability for the seller to allow a buyer to get into the property before closing on it. So most people are going to say thanks, but no thanks. Post-occupancy, that's honestly just going to depend on that scenario. It can happen. You would tend to guess that the owner of a property, that they've cared and loved that property and that they're not going to then trash it the last little bit, after you've now closed on it. But they do exist. I would say use them only in the most desperate of situations, because in most cases they're not going to be, people aren't really going to want to do them, whether you're the buyer or the seller, depending on who the one is that has the liability for that. All right, so let's move on. I'm going on to the next one. Eric's getting antsy over here. All right, let me see what's next. Scoop. Okay, so if you live here in Hamlin, there it is. If you live here in Hamlin, we are going to have an Anytime Fitness. This is coming right here to our little shopping area there in Hamlin. So for those of you that are looking, currently we have there's an LA Fitness. There's an LA Fitness in the Winter Garden area, Winter Garden shopping area. It's a really big, LA Fitness, they're giant. But the Anytime Fitness looks like that's going to be coming in. So if that's something you're looking for, we're just always excited when new businesses start to invest in our area and start to invest, into our community. And we're excited that the community is excited about it. We started to see a lot of this on Facebook going, yay, there's going to be an Anytime Fitness. So that's exciting. So we're excited to see that. So congratulations to the owners of Anytime Fitness and to the new people who are going to be working off their Thanksgiving turkey and mashed potatoes there. And I'm going to keep going because I want to get to, I need to get to this. All right, so something happened this morning before coffee time. This happens very rarely, maybe once a year, but it has happened, my friends. I turned on the heat. I turned on the heat in our house. What the flippity flip is going on? It was cold, and I said it was cold. Eric has told you before, I love to have the windows open. Honestly, I haven't had them open as much because Eric is a little bit colder than normal anyway, so I don't want to make it more miserable and more uncomfortable for him than I have to. So sometimes I'll open up like this window here in this room or something and just kind of keep the upstairs a little bit chilly. But it was cold this morning, and both of the thermostats read like in the low to mid 60s in the house. And I was like, okay, that's just a little bit too chilly. So I had to turn on, and I don't know why. Well, I thought when it was on auto that it would kick, but anyway, whatever. I turned the heat on. So look at our forecast. So for those of you that, think of Florida as always hot and sunny. You know what? It is still sunny. It is still beautiful, but we are delighted that we're going to see these, what we call, this is our winter, when we get these, really nice days, the perfect days to be able to wear just a sweater or just a little light jacket, but you get those really, really, really cold temperatures overnight, which I'm excited about that. So, yay. I'm excited about that. Okay, did I miss something over here? Shelly watching. How do you pronounce the one next to that? I don't know what that was. Oh. Yeah, the one. I don't know, actually. I see, as Jade, I saw your question. I don't actually know the answer to that. All right, let's go on to this because we're going to go to our cup. Okay, so we're just going to share with you a few of the Thanksgiving Day pictures that we had. We have Alyssa and Hong and Easton. I hope Easton is feeling better. I actually hope Allie and Hong are not watching Coffee Time right now, but if they are, chime in and let me know how my little bud's doing. Then we have Steele, Elizabeth, and Miss Elsie. They're in the middle. Then you have me and my son Dawson. I just made him stand there so I could snap a picture. And there is Forrest and his girlfriend Caroline. Everybody was just so super helpful. And this was our family photo. I was like, oh, I love it. And then I realized I can barely see Forrest's head over Dawson's hat. So that may be our Christmas picture. I don't really know. But at any rate, that was our holiday photo. I don't know that we'll get a chance to put another one together before it's too late for me to put the cards out. I didn't send any pictures, but the next day, our tradition is we do a Thanksgiving, and then the Friday after Thanksgiving is when we decorate the tree, and we make a big crock pot filled with hot cocoa, like the best hot cocoa, like the whole hot cocoa bar, like the whole thing. And we did that, and the kids came and they decorated the tree. We have each of them have ornaments. We give ornaments every year. They put the tree or put the ornaments on the tree. I had the hot cocoa. We just kind of sat around. I had the little fire going in the little fireplace. Yay. It was just really nice. It was nice to have kind of all of us sitting there. Eric came out and he sat in the chair with us for a little bit. And I think I fell asleep because my head was killing me. This was part of me being sick and not realizing I had COVID. And it was just really, really, really nice. I had a lot of pictures of that. I didn't send any to Eric to put on here, but at any rate, we'll keep those and share those another time. But anyway, all right. I think I may have gotten to everything. I think I did. I didn't do wishes. I didn't give Eric the information, but Christina is closing this week on her beautiful new home, and so we're super excited about that. Allie says we're here, and he's hanging in there. Tell him that Mimi is so sorry I got him sick. Give him big smooches. Anyway, all right, guys. So as always, we will keep you updated as we can. Our plan is to continue to do coffee time unless something is just not going to work. And that could very well happen. I almost couldn't do it this morning because between Eric not being, able to talk and me, I didn't think I was going to be able to talk through this, but I'm a talker. Glad we were able to get through it. But so wish Eric well. If you're sending any of those positive thoughts, throwing out good mojo, making your prayers, any of that is still always greatly appreciated and very, very, very welcome. He does have chemo today. So if everyone can just do those, all that out into the universe, please, that the blood work comes back good so that he can get the chemo. Also pray for Miami to give us a call and let us know what it is that we can do so that we can get the show on the road here with him. But as always, guys, we are so appreciative of you. So please stay safe, stay well. Remember, we love you guys. Hopefully see you here again next week. We love you. Have a good day, everybody. Bye, guys.